Hi and welcome back to the course. In the last video, we did request parsing and we made sure that we could only pass certain fields through our JSON payload to our endpoints. I also suggested that you try to do the same thing for the post method. So let's do that just now. I'm just going to copy and then I'm going to paste. Then I'm going to remove the data from here. Now, what was wrong with what I just did? Hopefully, you acknowledge that it is wrong, normally at least, often, to copy and paste. I essentially copied and pasted and didn't change anything at all, which means that this thing here is the same as this thing here, and there is probably a way of making sure that they are not duplicated. So why do we not want to duplicate them? For example, say we want to change the help message. We now have to change it in line 26 and also in line 47. And if we forget to change one of them, they're going to be out of sync, and then that's going to result in poor user experience and so on. Another example, we want to add a new argument to the parser. So now we have to add a new argument up here, and then another one down here. Overall, just not very nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to cut this, and then we're going to put it in the item. So now the parser is going to belong to the item class as opposed to belonging in one of the methods. But notice there is no self in front. So the parser belongs to the class itself and not to one specific item resource. So the way to call and use this parser is by saying item.parser.parseArgs. Remember, the I has to be uppercase just as it is in the class. And similarly down here in the put method, it should be item.parser.parseArgs. And that's just made things a lot nicer and also a lot easier to reuse, because now if we want to use this in another method, we just have to do this and it's really simple. As an aside, I'll also mention why this data is up here, or rather why this data used to be down here. This data used to be down here and it should be down here because of the following. The first thing we do is we filter out things. So we're saying, if the name is already in our database, we don't want to do anything. This is an error-first approach. The first thing we do is we look for errors, and if any errors happen, we stop and we break. And once all of the errors have been cleared, we start doing what we want to do. So the first thing we do is we deal with errors, and then we do what we want to do. And that way, we know that there are no errors that could happen in this piece of code here, because we've already dealt with them before. And because here we are stopping if the name is already in a database, it doesn't make sense to load the data before it. Here would be loading data, and then we would be stopping if the item already exists, and we would never use the data. So that seems a bit wasteful, which is why the data was originally down here. The first thing we do is we make sure that we are okay to proceed, and then we actually proceed and do the stuff that we want to do. Okay, that's it for this video, so hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you in the very next one.